Ray, recently retired from international rugby, 2 tries, 146 metres, 2 clean breaks. Innes Senior, 142 metres. Toby King starting to find his feet. 1 try, 136 metres and 4 offloads, and his try was a very good one, I thought. Tuilola here, 2 try assists, 135 metres.
Yeah, and he scored it in front of the end where the Wire fans were starting to appear, so I think he enjoyed that too.
Ooh, I think he did, yeah. Losers. Brodie Croft, a try assist, 7 tackle busts, 130 metres and 2 clean breaks. That's the 3rd really long stat line of the week we've had there.
He was exceptional, I thought.
Yeah, it was
in a
brilliant.
losing effort. He's playing so well.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? What's his contract situation? Do you know?
His contract situation is when Cade Cuss goes back to the NRL, because clearly they watch what happens with Wigan halfbacks and they re-sign them all after they've performed at Wigan for 2 years. He will come to Wigan to get himself a deal back in the NRL.
I see.
You've heard it here first.
That's the plan. Rhys Williams, 135 metres. Tim Laffey, 116 metres. And Elijah Taylor, 42 tackles, 11 from marker.
At MikeWebb58 said, entertaining start to the very warm afternoon. If only Theo's comedy muff drop goal / try had been allowed.
Always in our shadow. A dull start to the Sunday with Salford not quite at the races. But what was the fullback doing watching a 40-20 bounce into touch like that? It was a bit odd. I didn't even realise it was a 40-20, to be honest.
That was the second stupidest play of the weekend. Ryan Braley just did that. And I watched, I didn't watch the whole game back, but I watched a couple of bits back, like sort of fast forwarding through to watch things, because I wanted to check that the ref did shout. And he did clearly shout 40, 40, like twice. But because
we just watched it.
Braley let it bounce so long, maybe he'd forgotten by that point. But yeah.
Or maybe it was the heat.
And like he would have had to wait ages for all his forwards to get back in that heat, to get back behind the play, to play on. So why didn't he just take it when they were chasing the game? They weren't quite in it at that point. Well, they were. They got back to 18-24 at one point. It never felt like they were going to win, but
no.
Still, that was awful.
Bizarre.
Dr. Hideous said, Giants dominated the first half, but Salford weren't irredeemable. They just needed a good start to the second half. They got that when the Giants were a disorganised mess for 10 minutes. But when they sorted themselves out, the improved Salford weren't improved enough. Farge was unlucky to miss both his drop goals, and even unluckier that the resulting scrambles both ended in almost tries that were correctly disallowed.
Indeed. Mark W. said, good to see us bounce back after a disappointing defeat. Right after Salford's first try, there was a moment where Watkins could have set up a 3-on-1 that would have been a try that changed the whole game. But otherwise, I was never too worried. Good to see King score, but his defence needs to improve if he's going to keep Cudjoe and Latelli out.
Yeah, Watkins, I thought, as good as his offloads were last week in the game, in the comeback against Warrington, as bad as they were in this game. Yeah. He had 2 or 3 where he just flung terrible offloads that went forwards or into touch or what have you.
Maybe that put him off from this 3-on-1 then, because for me the cock up of the weekend, and I perfectly willing to accept the 40-20. Watching the 40-20 bounce was bad, but Watkins, there was a 3-on-1. Watkins had the ball with a 2-man bloody overlap and took the tackle. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think he wasn't at his best in this game. I think that's fair to say. Scoot said, I was genuinely really looking forward to this game. Thought it could be really exciting. Sadly, Salford gifted Huddersfield too much and could never close the gap enough. Have to say, Salford fans were immense and loud. Great to be in the stand with them. I think Salford fans are enjoying what they're seeing, and they saw some decent tries. That Brodie Croft try was exceptional.
Yeah, it was.
And they saw that great hit, Chris Atkins hit on Levi. That, for me, wasn't tackle of the weekend, because there was a few try-savers that were pretty decent, that we've talked about already. And somewhat we haven't talked about, actually, because we can't talk about everything. But that hit on Levi, where he just came flying from nowhere, absolutely cut him in two. And Levi looked up to see, you could see him laughing. Like, even from the stands, you could see him laughing when he realised who'd hit him like that was Chris fucking Atkin. Everyone was like, "Who did that tackle?" And I was like, "I don't know. Was it one of the forwards?" And then we saw him stand up. It was like, "Oh, it was Chris Atkins."
Yeah, it was an absolute bell ringer. An absolute bell ringer. But yeah, it wasn't a great game. It was really hot, mind. It was a really ferociously hot stadium. So I don't know whether that contributed to Salford not quite being at the races, but I thought it was a little bit too easy. And I have to admit, the bit you'd like to talk about now, I didn't see because I went off for a very, very cold, extremely delicious Nuki Brown in the stand underneath the Gallagher end to get out of the heat for a minute or two, and I missed the very end of this game. So.
Right, fair enough. Well, to be honest, if Salford had prevented that McGilvery try, which was way too easy, just before half-time, then I think this could have got interesting. And luckily, with his Shearer celebration try, it got some social media attention and stuff like that, didn't it? But like Scoot said, it never really felt like they were going to close the gap close enough, because every time they did, it felt like Huddersfield could find another gear and score, and they did that. Yes. So, actually, just to put a cap on what Mark W said about Toby King, yeah, his try was fantastic, but the try that Dion Cross scored, where he physically bullied him right on the try line, I think that fleshes out what Mark was saying there when you watch those tries back. But yeah, so there was 2 late no tries in this game, and if you put that together with the Powell no try in the Wigan Saints game, they were all disallowed effectively for the within 10
being
rules.
Within 10.
So being within 10 of the defender who's effectively receiving the ball, I guess.
Yeah, but in a position to receive the ball.
Yes, and being within 10, so interfering with the defence somehow. Now, I don't think any of the players interfered with the defence. I'm not saying none of the players got involved, because 2 of them potentially scored tries, and 1 of them was stood right next to the guy who took the ball to potentially score a try. So, but none of them were interfering in any sort of meaningful way in what happened. And at the point of the being within 10 metres of the defending player. So, right, with the Powell one, okay. So if people don't remember it, there was a kick, then a knock-on by a Saints player, but I think maybe it actually went backwards.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't go backwards, it should have been a penalty to Wigan for the guy picking it up being offside. So it must have rolled backwards after Batchelor touched that one, actually. But then Bateman towed it forward as a second kick.
That's right.
Ran ahead of his kick, so put Sam Powell, who was marginally offside, put him then onside because he'd ran ahead of him. But the video ref has determined that 2 Saints players who were kind of hovering around trying to find even where the ball was, rather than actually being waiting for the ball. I think one of them was Roby, who had his back to play, and the other one was a player coming in from the sort of wing side. Both were within 10 meters. Sam Powell was within 10 meters of them when the kick happened. So on that technicality, he was within 10 meters of a defender who could possibly have been waiting for the ball, even though it was a grubber kick that never would have reached any of them anyway. But that's that one, right? Then the Golding one.
And sorry, and just to finish that, I think what happens is Powell then toes the ball on over the line, and then he touches down, doesn't he?
Well, we don't know if he touched down, to be honest, because we never got to see the replay.
I mean, when I watched it back, it looked like he got his hand on it. I thought it looked okay, the actual touchdown itself.
Yeah.
But he towed it past the Saints. One of those 2 Saints players was actually coming in towards the ball, and he towed it past him. And I think that's the reason it was technically given.
Yeah, but at the point where Bateman put him back onside, those 2 defenders were... I think they were trying to locate even where the ball was, let alone... Anyway. Yeah. What I'm saying is they weren't...
There was... Yeah.
So this next one makes the point even stronger,
It was a technical offside decision.
Yes. So the next one, I think, makes the point even stronger. So the Golding one, it was charged down. I think it was Sam Luckley charged down the drop goal attempt from Theo Farge. Okay. So technically, in a charge down situation, it puts everyone back on side, other than players who were offside and within 10 of the player who charged it down, which is nonsensical because the player charging it down isn't influenced at all by a player who's 8 yards, maybe 10 yards. You know, is Ben Thaler making, getting the Hollywood Ben Thaler out, I thought, on these ones. But say he was within 10, which he probably just about was, Ash Golding, he was ahead. He was like 10 yards ahead of the kicker. So he was 10 yards behind the charge down player. So his position on the pitch had no influence on whether the charge down would have been better than it was, whether it would have meant the ball went back, went forwards, or whether it just came off his hands and fell into a gap where people could chase it. So the ball came off the hands, went into the in-goal area, bounced a couple of times. Ash Golding got there first and put it down. But on video review, forensic review, he was within 10 metres, but definitely not interfering with the player who charged down. Is he even waiting for the ball? Is that really the intention of the rule? Anyway, so that's that one. Then the third one, probably the most fair enough one, but in a way still stupid. Farge hits the drop goal attempt. It hits the post. It comes out. Again, like the Power one, there was no Salford player waiting to take the ball, and Luke Yates, who was offside at the drop goal attempt, he did move towards the ball, but he never impeded any defender from getting to the ball. He never impeded any defender from getting to Theo Farge. He never influenced any defender in any way. So all three of these plays were all given us no tries on very technical forensic assessment of the rule, of the instances. Yeah. And it just feels wrong. Yeah. It just feels like, shouldn't we be seeing tries given rather than scratched off? And I know Wigan had one in the 2017 World Club Challenge that at the time I was delighted about, don't get me wrong. But I've always said we should look for ways to have points scored, not points taken away. And it just feels like it's a super technicality that prevented tries being scored. Now, there was other things with the Power One, to look at. I think there was other things with the...
I think the difficulty with these things, Mark, is it's hard to see how you rewrite the rules in a way, and I haven't thought about it, so it might not be hard, right? It might be easy. It might just be, I've just had a glass of wine. But it's hard to see on the face of it how you rewrite the rules to keep the rules simple as you can, and not bring in judgment. Because ideally what you want to be able to say is, well, did he interfere with the defender? Was the defender in position to collect the ball? But then it puts more judgment in the hands of the referee or the video referee to make a call on, well, I didn't think he was interfering, or I don't think he was coming for the ball. At least it's black and white. If he's within 10 metres, that's it.
But if there was no video referee there, the Power One wouldn't have got given, because I don't think he gave it. I think he went up to no try. No, he didn't give it.
He gave it as a no try anyway.
The Golding one would have been given, and the Yates one, the Farge one wouldn't have been given. So, you know, I don't know. It just feels like we're looking for ways to scratch points off. Yeah. Like, I do get what you're saying. We want to keep the law simple, but there is judgment already. There's judgment in whether Singleton's was a yellow or a red card, whether Napa last week was a yellow or a red card, whether
there absolutely is. There's loads of judgment. My personal view is I like to take as much judgment out of it as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Because it's when we get the judgments in that it causes all the bloody ructions as to whether it was right or whether it was wrong. But nevertheless, I absolutely get what you're saying, and you know it's frustrating if you're a fan of a club and it's been disallowed on what's a seeming obscure technicality.
Yeah. Look, but back to the game. Salford needed a good start to win, I thought, but Huddersfield actually got that hot start, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And Salford gave themselves too much to do, and Huddersfield were professional enough to see it out. Sitaleki Akwala from Salford got a grade B intentional trip, 2-match penalty notice for him, and Brodie Koff got a grade A late hit on pass and no match penalty notice for him. The big news that was announced just before kick-off, was that Huddersfield Giants head coach Ian Watson has signed a new 4-year deal. So he originally signed a 3-year contract when he joined them in the end of 2020. So he's still got half of that